6 o'clock. Item 1, citizens' time. Hearing and seeing none. Item 2, new business, topic the chair did not reasonably anticipate would be discussed. Anything?
Nope.
All right, old business, discussion on sewer garage.
That one there is, we reached out to the architect, they were supposed to have contract documents for us to put the project out to bid, that's been delayed, so we're waiting to hear back from them.
On the architect?
Yeah, from the architect
Okay.
on getting us contract documents.
Anybody else, questions?
So all the plans are done, it's just a matter of the documents?
Yep, just sending us over the final package so we can put it out to bid.
So probably a spring start?
Hopefully put it
Maybe
out to
when-
bid, get the prices, and then, yeah, probably the spring start.
All right, I&I program?
Yeah, we have a couple of things. So, as you know, the capacity project, the first phase, the investigative and design portion, should be scheduled to start in November. So Wood and Curran's preparing an amendment agreement to bring before you for you to sign for them to do the work, because obviously they're under contract for that. And then, they're slated to start in November for that. I do have a couple of letters for you to sign, Brian. For Representative Gary and Senator Kennedy. We have those ones there. And just want to remind everybody, we have the Charles George landfills, site visit Tuesday at 10:30, this coming Tuesday, for anyone who can make it.
Got it?
That is it.
All right, Toll Brothers Enclave project.
Do you wanna, speak to, I know you were out there recently this week.
Yeah, so, as it relates to the pump station, they did the final paving on, I think it was either Tuesday or Wednesday. So that's wrapped up, they still, I'm looking to try to schedule a meeting with them to go over the stormwater component, and then there's a handful of other just minor punch list items on the list, so looking to compile that, send that over to Toll Brothers, so that once they finish all that on the list, then, you know, they can turn over the keys.
Answer my question.
And the only other two things is, they haven't paid the last 2 electric bills. So remember the night that they were giving us pushback, and then that night you guys said, we're not taking it over till all this is done. So since then, I have not gotten paid for electric bills, so we just wanna make sure we get that money before we sign any final stuff. There's 2 now, and there'll be another one coming out probably next week.
Any update on the gentleman across the road that had the water issues on the driveways?
That, I'm trying to schedule a meeting with Toll Brothers to kinda come up with a plan for that. They've given a little pushback,
Toll Brothers?
yeah.
Don't sign anything until we get it figured out.
Yeah, I don't think it would be me signing it anyway. I think it's, under the contract, is Wood and Curran has to sign off on the final completion, so, I did mention that to Jack the other day, that there's outstanding electric bills, just so that everybody's kind of aware of it, so it doesn't slip through the
Why,
cracks.
do you know why they're giving pushback?
I think they just don't wanna be responsible for it. The last time I talked with the engineer from Bowler, they kinda acted like it was, like, oh, I thought we already addressed this. I said, we haven't addressed
Well,
anything
it's-
yet, so.
Everything, well, I wish Jack was here, cause everything was temporary, I
Yeah.
believe, right?
Right.
So now that they're getting, it's gotta be permanent.
Yeah, so I wanna walk the site with their engineer, Toll Brothers, and just tell them what's going on, what's happening, and then come up with a solution.
All right, perfect. Anything else? All right, and D, future sewer phases.
Okay, so, Wood and Curran attended the conservation hearing on Tuesday, and it did get continued a couple of weeks for some minor adjustments that need to go on the plans. 100% design documents are scheduled for submission by mid-October to you all from Wood and Curran. And then public outreach will follow after that. The phalanx earmark, we're still waiting for the federal budget to get voted on, but the money's in there. And under the so this grant that we have for the design, as you know, we had 869,000. So when you get money through the federal government, there's terms and conditions, and one of the terms and conditions is if you spend over $750,000 in one fiscal year, it requires a single audit. So I met with Colin on Monday, because the paperwork that I saw was it has to go out for requests for proposals, you have to put together, they kind of spell out what's the normal process to do this single audit. And where the town manager's office handles all procurement stuff, so I sat with Colin, and it said you three need to vote on an audit committee, so that when the proposals come back in, we review them, and then we'll come to you with a report and say this is who responded to the request for proposals. They're very specific with their terms and conditions. It says one person should be from finance, one person should be from administrative, and one from governing body. So I was thinking myself, Colin, and Dave, who's our finance director, if that's okay with you, if you wanna make that, vote tonight to make us the committee on the selecting the audit firm.
Fine with me. Give me a motion. Unless you got a question?
No, I said good.
Make a motion to allow Kathy to form the committee.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, and, so the
Just, you know
I'm
what?
sorry,
Just real, should we put the three names in the motion? Is that
I
gonna-
think so.
Is that gonna make a difference?
I would, because they specifically say someone from finance, someone from,
What are the names again?
so I would say the town manager, the sewer administrator, and the finance director.
Okay, perfect. You'll,
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Second.
okay, perfect.
And I just had something else on that subject. So that was all of our conversation, Colin and I, and we kinda came up with a timeline. So, you have, within 9 months of your fiscal year ending, which is June 30th, you have to have all of this audit into the federal clearinghouse, which would bring us to March 30th. So the timeline right now is, you guys all appointed us tonight. Town manager's office will advertise the RFP by September 30th. We're hoping to have responses within 3 weeks, by October 21st. We'll get together, review them, do a little report, come to you hopefully on the 24th, have you appoint the firm, whoever, we get responses from. Hopefully start the audit by November 1st, give them 60 days to complete it, have everything done by January, and then we'll have a couple months of leeway to get it all into the federal clearinghouse. So that was our conversation on Monday. However, I spoke to the finance director yesterday, and he said he's checking with the auditor, but that we may not have to go through any of this RFP process because the town already gets all these federal money, ARPA and all that. So he said every year when we do our regular audit, they do a single audit for all the town's federal money. So if he's checking with the auditor, but if that's the case, they're probably just gonna do it as part of that. And if that's the case, then we won't go through that whole. Right, he just needs to make sure that that's okay and that the auditors agree that that meets this criteria with the federal government. So if that's the case, we won't need to put it out for proposals, cause they already have a firm.
So the cost,
I'm sorry, the criteria was 750,000 in a fiscal.
Within a fiscal year.
Our fiscal year? or
Within
they-
our fiscal year. So we spent, $766. So what was funny was, we actually came just below that number, but I had to get clarification from EPA because the amount of drawdowns we got in our fiscal year and the amount of bills we paid was like below, it was like 706,000. But our first drawdown in July had work from June. It was all June work. So I was like, I don't know which way this goes. So I reached out to EPA and said, can you clarify, do we have to do this or not? And the head person in charge of audit said yes. Yeah, it's June work, you have to do that. So we ended up spending like 766,000 in our fiscal year. We exceeded the which that's not a problem, you can do that. You could do the whole 869 in that year. It's just that now kicks off your single audit.
so does the cost come out of the grant or out of our budget?
So the cost can come out of the grant, however, we have that grant money earmarked for the project. We had also budgeted a bunch of extra money, cause the project's more than what the grant is giving us. So you can take it out of the project, or you can take it out of our capital, either way, one's gonna pay for the project, one's gonna, so we'll see.
Okay,
We'll see how that goes. And if it is the town that does it, then I'll talk to Colin about, charge us for our portion, or however they wanna do that.
that it?
That's it on the sewer phases, yes.
Once Corner Development, anything?
I haven't heard, have you heard anything, Jake, on, no?
Alright, Phase 1 West, 95, 97 Westwood Road Mobile Station, anything?
Have you heard anything about Sportsman's Club, you think?
The only thing I've heard is Jeff's supposed to be designing.
Okay, that's the last I heard
50 Westford Road?
Yes, so they, came in, they filled out their application, they paid their fees, their installer turned in paperwork, it's gonna be petroleum engineering, they're gonna do all the site work, sewer installation, water installation. So they came in, turned in all the paperwork for that. We're just waiting on revised plans, cause they gave us plans back in 2021. Woodard and Curran did a peer review, there were a few things that needed to be upgraded, nothing major. So we're just waiting to get those updated plans. And then when we do, I'll give them to Jake to check over. But basically, they wanna do the connection via manhole, that's out in the street. I was looking at the plans today, the original ones, looks like there's gonna be 4 manholes on their property. I don't know if you wanted to look at this isn't the final plans, but,
Don't we have a stub from that manhole onto their property already?
yeah, but for some reason, there's manhole number 5 is out in the street here.
Do they not know about it, maybe?
No, there is something on that property.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
thought we had put a line, coming from the manhole, we put a line coming across the street so they could go behind the, medical building.
Yeah, I
And-
don't know if that's
and
what
that
they're showing
property.
here. It might be this manhole that they're starting at, which may be right on the edge of their property.
It might be, okay.
And that's
Yeah,
manhole
'cause I
5, and then they
thought-
put some
I
on.
could've sworn that we had.
I remember going across the road, too.
Yeah.
I remember.
We put a manhole there? Why?
No, that's,
Service?
who did it?
Revolt.
No, that wasn't it the mobile station with the force main, is that what we're
No,
talking about?
no, right at the end, where the property that the temple's going, and then the, medical building,
Okay.
okay? Instead of going up, Potash Hill, we put one right there at the property line. I don't know if we can put a stub, or if we put a stub in a manhole, so that they could run it up and do the medical building and do whatever they were gonna do on.
Sounds like they're via a new manhole and sewer line to connect to the
Okay.
existing infrastructure on Westford
Yeah,
Road.
that sounds right, so we stumped it.
Yeah.
And
They would throw in.
Right.
They need to put in, like, one of the things they caught on the plan, they need to put in an interior exterior grease trap. It looks like they're using 8-inch line, and then at one point switching to 6-inch according to that plan that I was looking at today. And then it's just, there was a question with the slope, Wood and Curran thought that one portion of the design was a very steep slope. So they wanted to revise it to either a minimum slope or provide an explanation as to why they needed a steep
I'd probably
slope.
just put a drop manhole in.
Yeah, cause I think the temple's way up on the hill, and
Yeah.
that's a good sized slope coming down the hill.
Yeah, so once we get the actual plans in, we'll bring it, I'll have them come to a meeting and you guys can review everything and,
It's easy enough to change the slope, if it's too steep, just do a drop manhole.
yeah,
That's it.
and that's it on the temple. Did you have anything on the temple? Did you
No.
see anything?
Alright, phase 2 sewer project,
Nothing, I don't have anything.
anybody? Sewer administrators report.
Okay, so I have meeting minutes from August 8th, both regular and executive session.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes of August 8th.
Second.
Motion in a second. We're gonna do the executive separate?
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Make a motion to approve the minutes. August 8th. Executive session, not to be released.
Second.
Motion is second. Further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor?
Jack.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Okay, and then we have, some
Bills, warrants?
Yes. What the heck are they? Can I copy them all? Oh, well, here they are, okay. So, if they're not regular, normal, everyday monthly bills, then I put notes on there as to what they are. We've been having to buy a lot of odor stuff lately for the pump stations.
We'll get to that, right, in the
We will get,
complaints?
yes, we will get to that
Oh,
under
on the
complaints.
Paul's report.
Yeah, I don't have a report from him, but I have it under complaints.
There's another town that's having this, that, I forget what it was.
Oh, really?
They were when, mostly because it was dry, apparently. But that would have to, maybe there's not enough II to get in and clean it out.
Diluted it a little bit?
I forget where it was. They were talking about odor.
God, I can't read your writing.
I'm sorry, you want me to read it to you?
Why is the electric bill at Bridgeview so expensive? Is it the pump goes more than others?
I think because of the size of the station too, and plus if it was, you got South George going through there, right? Bridgeview?
I mean, instead of like 200, it's 500.
Oh, I'm thinking Bridge Meadow, sorry.
575. Bridgeview Circle pump.
Bridgeview, I don't know why it was high
That
this
would
one.
be paying pretty much everything.
It's got all the condos go through there, right?
Yeah,
The
the
building in front, 1 and 2,
Yeah.
the commercial building,
Maple Ridge,
yep.
all that.
Like Parker Lane's 226, half the price.
What are we paying?
I think that's to mark out,
30 gallon
I believe
drum
it's to
of
mark out, is that what you're talking about?
Odor
The
control.
spray paint, I think it's to mark out stuff, like when we get calls from, like drink water, for instance, needs things marked out, or people are gonna be doing digging, we'll call to have areas marked, so I think Paul gets paid for that stuff.
So would you buy a couple cases of black or something?
I don't buy them, I think they go to Home Depot and pick
Yeah,
this stuff
it's
up.
cheap.
Well, it's at Harmon's, I thought.
Oh, Hammond's, no, what that is the odor control
Hammond's
stuff.
up here.
Hammond's, there's a couple bills in there from Hammond's.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the odor control stuff.
Got it.
Yeah. I have a couple other things, just updates from the last meeting. So we had touched on that assisted living facility at 84 Kendall. And at the time, you guys asked me to reach out to Chelmsford to see how they handle assisted living versus independent with commercial or residential. So I spoke to Chelmsford Sewer, and they said they bill senior residential units over 55 as residential. If assisted falls under a nursing home or rehab, it would be a business and they'd bill it commercial. They weren't sure if they had any of those mixed properties in Chelmsford on the same parcel of land. But she believes they'd lean residential if it was considered long-term living and commercial if it was short-term or temporary. That's kinda how they look at that. So, and I did email the gentleman from the assisted living facility and let him know, whenever your flow accounts are in, come before us, and so I'm just waiting to hear back. And then Attorney Petrini's office started drafting the private sewer agreement for Kendall Road. So Attorney White just needed to see the agreement between Brock's and the new owner, just to get some of the details to include it in ours. So I reached out to Eric and we had a bit of a talk, and he said he thinks within a month it should be done and wrapped up. When it is, he'll share it with us, but right now it's just not done yet between them and the potential developer, potential buyer. And then lastly, can we set a date for a workshop? We have several regulation updates that we've been talking about doing. Also, I would like to really sit down and talk about the fee structure, how we're gonna deal with when we get the grant in on failings and how that's gonna affect everything, and try to work out something. So I was thinking if we could just do like a workshop and just have it be earmarked for those two items that night. I don't know what good nights of the week are for you guys.
Well, we just do it before or after the meeting, but we don't have much on the agenda.
When's our next meeting, 26th?
Our next meeting's the 26th, yep.
It looks like tonight would've been a good night.
I know, right? Who knew?
Should've called us up last week.
I know. That's true. You wanna,
If the agenda's not too, 26 is fine.
I mean, can you guys get in here before, or do you wanna just keep it for after?
5:30 the earliest for me.
Okay, that won't give us enough time, I don't think.
Well, if it's a light agenda, right? So 5:30 and then,
Oh, start the actual meeting at 5:30 and then do the workshop after? Is that what you mean?
or vice versa.
I just think with the time of the meeting, you gotta be solid, cause you're posting it, and you could have people coming
Oh,
into the
I see.
meeting, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but as long as we post it for 5:30, that's fine.
Yeah,
If we start the actual meeting at 5:30, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And do that after?
Sure, we can do that, yeah. Are you around that night too, Jane?
Mhm.
Okay. Alright, so the 26th will make the meeting at 5:30.
So just make sure you keep the agenda sharp.
I will do my best.
Everything will be postponed until.
The only person that I think is coming in that night, 270 Dunstable Road is coming in to ask for capacity. They're already connected to sewer, but they're putting in a pool house. And because we're so tight on capacity, they're gonna come in that night with plans and stuff, so,
Is that a single family home?
it's a single family home, but there's like a garage or a barn out back that is already connected, is my understanding from Paul, if I'm saying this correctly. And then I think they just wanna move, no, it can't already be connected. The house itself is connected, but there's a pool house they're building and they want to connect that to sewer as well.
What number Dunstable Road?
270, I think they're heading towards Chelmsford, in that direction, of Flint's Corner, you take down that way. I think they're way up in the back. If you're heading towards Chelmsford, I think they're on the right, up on the hill. So I think he's coming in that evening, but it's really just to ask permission for capacity, and I know everything's very tight, so I wanted to let you guys make that determination. And see his plans in case, any questions on that.
Alright.
But I think that's it for the next meeting.
No senior homeless report?
No,
Alright. Correspondence?
no.
Complaints?
So, we've been having odor complaints, as you know. So Paul has been doing a lot, Paul and Doug have been doing a lot to try to take care of this. So it seems as though the pump stations, I think the heat and the humidity did not help matters at all, cause the air is stagnant and isn't really moving, but I think it seems like the pump stations that are receiving the force main were the ones that were really having odors. So Parker, Muscuppick, Coburn, now that it's taken the force main from Village Lane. And so he's done multiple things. At Parker, he raised the vent so that when things come out, he's trying to get it like above, not settling in the neighborhood. We had done that quite a while ago. And he's bought some carbon barrels, that's part of what you've seen on there as well. So that as the vapors come out of the wet well, they'll pass through the carbon and hopefully that diminishes some of the odor. Odor blocks he's been using, and Farwell, cause that's where the force main starts, he's been injecting with dioxide. Also doing that at Parker, so that by the time it gets down to Muscuppick. He bought an odor deodorizer and chemicals to be installed at Parker. So I think he is doing everything he possibly can do at this point. From my understanding, Coburn and Muscuppick, I think are fine. We haven't been getting any complaints. The most one we get complaints about is Parker for sure. However, the last piece of the puzzle was him plugging in the odor deodorizer. I haven't received a complaint since then, but it's early. I mean, I'm hoping it works.
So,
And I'm hoping now that it's getting cooler out, that it's not an issue.
so let me ask this question, seeing
yeah.
as we're getting the complaints at Parker, Coburn, and then Muscuppick, right, they're all
Mhm.
tied together.
Well, Coburn, so the force main is coming from Village Lane, is that the name of the condos? So that's the only one he really couldn't put dioxide or anything into, cause we don't own that, right? We don't own that station. I don't know if he.
Well,
technically-
I was just questioning, could it be because something that's getting discharged into the system? I don't know, I'm just.
So it could be something being discharged, or it could also be that they're not coming on frequently enough. A lot of times it sits. Remember when we first started that Farwell,
Yep,
that we only had one or two, and we were getting a terrible smell?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it may not be
It's like
cycling.
one cycling,
fast, and you may, and there may not be enough of floors cycle faster.
Has anybody recently tied into Farwell, onto Middlesex Road?
No,
The pot shop, right? Oh, that was,
Long time ago.
nobody
the new one.
recently,
That's a
nobody
different spot.
recently, but, you know, you have a lot of restaurants there too, right? Colburn never really had a problem until, I think, Village Lane now, and Toll's coming through. Toll doesn't have a ton of houses on it, but,
yeah,
so.
actually, that flow should be increasing with.
Right, but again, is it related somehow to the force main? I don't know,
Yeah,
that's,
the wa-
he's
I mean, the
Right,
pipes
we're-
just stay full.
We just haven't had issues in Escuppick, right, for,
Right, so Muscattuck,
For a long
they
time.
told Paul, cause he talked to a gentleman there, cause everything's so close down there to the pump station, and the neighbor was telling him that he hasn't smelt it that bad in 17 years. But Paul put in the bioxide at Parker, which would try to minimize that. He got the carbon barrel and all that, and apparently it is better, I think, there now. So we'll see how the next couple of weeks play out, but
Oh, some pumps we may disconnect.
we were kind of joking about that. Right? That was diluting it a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're hoping, I'm hopeful, I really am, cause I mean, nobody wants to live in a
Right.
neighborhood like that, I do feel bad, you know,
Winter time's coming to be staying in.
yeah, but we'll see. We'll see, I mean, but I just feel like he's literally doing everything he possibly, I mean, and we're spending a lot of money trying to do this stuff, you know, I mean, 4,000 here, 4,000 there, trying to get things going, get the deodorizer, get the pump, a lot of that's one-time cost things, but like those carbon barrel stuff, those are expensive.
Yeah, they're pricey.
I think it's like $600 for maybe the 55 gallon or the 30 gallon, but, and you'd probably go through that relatively quickly. So, we'll see.
If we need it, right?
Absolutely. I said if, we'll just increase our fiscal 26 budget for like, add more money into the pump station maintenance line for odor control, you know? But I'm hoping, like I said, that over the winter and even now where it's cooling down, I think just like, you know, the summer, it's so hot and humid and nothing moves and the air is just like stale, and I think that just does not help much, you know?
Hasn't been any issues on Elm Street.
Well, that's good. And you get you don't have a force main over there dumping in, right?
We can change that.
You can tell us firsthand. No, so that's it, that's all I have on that.
All right, do we need executive session?
Not tonight, no.
Not tonight. Right?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Further discussion, all in favor? Opposed, unanimous.
Let me
Perfect
just-
night for a workshop.
Let me
Thank
just
you,
call,
good night.
let me just call them. I know it would have been,
Do you know if he increased the pump activity?
But with the restaurant not all tied into it, which they should be going on. Normally, you know, if you get, like I said, when they first started tying it, we had a couple of places tie in, and they were getting a smell in the pocket. And then as they,
Jake, when you went out
tying
to,
increased, it went away.
consider yourself still on TV, okay?
I think it was what was that gentleman with the driveway that came in that night? Couple of meetings back. Forest Park? How was the, dialogue?
We wait till Kathy gets back.
Yeah, we could, yeah.